Alrighty guys, welcome to the video. So article here from stickybottle.com, just very recent news in the last hour or so. Stage 18 of the Vuelta Espana, the Australian, Jay Vine has crashed out and Rodriguez also badly injured in a very early crash in early stages of stage 18. Obviously only a few stages left in the Vuelta Espana, one of the three main Grand Tours. And here, obviously just speaks to the brutal nature that is World Tour cycling or any cycling racing for that matter. It is very cutthroat. And a breakthrough or, one of the better performances from Jay Vine in a Grand Tour at this level, young Australian, and obviously super disappointing, so close to the finish, but obviously anything can happen. And this just, speaks volumes. The other day, we just saw Primož Roglič go from second place, in the mix to obviously potentially be the outright winner of the general classification. And he had a crash with 50 meters to go. And now he's out of the race. But here's some footage. It's not, this is after the crash, but I think we can see over here. I'll bring it up here. I think this is Jay Vine here in the blue polka dot jersey. Yeah, and so we can see there, obviously, not getting up quick at all. I think the World Tour riders, for the most part, are very, very, very resilient dudes and girls. The girls who race as well, like the guys, girls, like cycling is cutthroat, and usually, they will have significant crashes and get up and just get straight back on the bike, even if they're concussed, even if they're otherwise badly injured. Who was the rider who literally punctured his spleen or ruptured a kidney or something and then just finished the race? I forget who exactly it was, a few years back, but they suffer real bad crashes and literally just get up. So when you see a rider down on the ground for that long, pretty obviously he's moving, but he's not in a rush to get up, particularly in a position that he was in, defending the polka dot jersey, something that I'm sure he would have been extremely determined to take through to the end of the tour. Very disappointing. So we read through King of the Mountains. At La Vuelta, Jay Vine was the highest profile casualty of the crash during today's stage 18. Through points leader Mads Pedersen and Spanish champion Carlos Rodriguez were also involved, though. Vine has been forced out of the race after winning two stages while on course to win the climbers classification. Rodriguez, Ineos Grenadiers, continued on but looked badly injured, with road rash on his legs, arms, and upper body, and a bloody face. Pedersen, Trek Segafredo, was able to remount and rejoin the race after the crash, which occurred early on today's stage to Alto di Parorono. I can't even pronounce that. However, Vine, Elperson Denekunik could be seen hitting the road after the crash. So the Australian rider, who was tipped by many to pick up another mountain stage win in the last days of the race, looked like he was in pain as he clutched his arm. Now that he is out of the race, the climbers jersey will pass on to Richard Carapaz from Ineos Grenadiers, who has also won two stages so far in the Spanish Grand Tours 2022 edition. So this here is Rodriguez, Carlos Rodriguez, obviously looking pretty bloodied up. Some pretty significant road rash. He would have been pretty badly taken off a lot of skin here and here. One thing that's sometimes your Lycra won't even tear that much, but you'll take off so much skin just because it grabs as it hits the road, as you hit the road, and basically just chunks out your skin underneath. But one of the things I always worry about, and this is based on my own experience with cycling and everything else, is that I always worry for these riders if they've suffered a concussion or a head injury, because they're very resilient. They always get up very quickly, usually, and jump back on the bike. And I think that one of the worst things you can do after hitting your head, if they have hit their head, often is the case though, is continue exerting yourself at a very high level. It's a very critical period where you want to make sure that everything else is otherwise okay. But I think that obviously this just speaks to the brutal nature of cycling and World Tour cycling as it is. And Jay Vine, a real breakthrough race or one of his better performances at a Grand Tour, and ultimately now he will be a non-finisher. He's come away with two stage wins, so still very successful. Absolutely amazing tour, but he will in no way be able to take home that King of the Mountains jersey. So, I think cycling is very cutthroat. One of my ex-teammates that I raced up on an Australian Queensland team, Kenyan rider Suleiman, unfortunately passed away last week after a crash in a gravel road race, which is, you know, obviously it always hits very hard. And my condolences to him and or to his family. But you know, I think that if you're not willing to crash every time you race your bike, you're ultimately not in the mind frame or the mindset of these professional riders. You know, they're literally putting their bodies on the line. They are putting their, at times, life on the line, and we've seen lives lost. It's not something that doesn't happen. But even then, we see significant injuries, life-changing injuries. So, you know, I always, I think that's probably one of the things that probably, you know, made me think twice about continuing racing back, you know, a few years ago, or a fair few years, maybe 5 years, 4 years ago now, when I ultimately said, you know, I'm going to pull the pin on cycling. But, you know, it's tough. And ultimately, like, what's frustrating is that often is the case, it's not even your fault. Like, someone else up the road will crash in front of you, and because of the speed at which you're traveling, you're literally along for the ride and can't do anything. You just have to kind of resign yourself to the fact that you're going down, and you did nothing wrong. It was just wrong place at the wrong time. And ultimately then you hit the deck and you just don't know what happens from there. So, you know, obviously unfortunate for Jay Vine. I hope that his injuries aren't too significant in the sense of long-term, but obviously significant enough to, you know, make him, to force him to withdraw from the Vuelta. So disappointing news. You know, something I was following very closely, and yeah, that's no good at all for Jay and everyone else involved. And I wish them, you know, all the best in their recovery, etc. But yeah, professional cycling, it is a brutal, cutthroat sport. And there are other real cutthroat sports as well. But, you know, these guys are literally riding around ultimately like naked effectively, because like what this Lycra does, nothing. If anything, it just grabs the skin and like rips it off harder probably. And yeah, these guys are absolutely crazy. But, you know, that's entertainment for us. So not good at all to come out from the Vuelta, especially, you know, such an early time in stage 18. But there you go, Jay Vine, King of the Mountains, out for the count with respect to the rest of the Vuelta. So take care, guys. Hope everyone's well. See you in the next video.